Rock and Roll Shin-Soo Choo, the podcast about baseball and rock and roll. My name is Gabe Estel, and I'm here with my co-host, Jonathan Getz and Dennis Levi Leach. How's it going, guys?
Going
Wonderful.
great.
Good. And we have a very special guest today, Mrs. Calixte Stamp. She is calling us from East Hampton, New York, and she is the wife of former legendary manager of The Who. Calixte, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for introducing me as the wife, the eternal bride, even though my beautiful husband, Chris Stamp, transitioned to spirit 3 years ago. His legend lives on beautifully.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're going to talk about Chris as well as the documentary movie, and then maybe some stories that you have as well. Why don't we start off with how did you meet Chris?
I met Chris in New York City in 1979 through mutual friends. And he was, he had kind of moved to the city, and I just fell in love with him the first time I saw him. What can I say?
Well, was Chris managing LaBelle at the time, I believe?
No, track record, yes. Not at the time, I'm not so sure about the dates. Track records were completely transforming Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells image. So that's Patti LaBelle, Nona Hendrix, and Sarah Dash.
Yeah.
Those fabulous ladies who are still rocking today
great
in
singers.
amazing ways. And Kit and Chris were completely transforming their images and, changing their look, changing the sound, invested a lot of time in the recording studio. And their very, very dear friend, Vicky Wickham, who was the producer at Ready, Steady, Go, who's a grand dame of rock and roll, said to Chris at one point, hey, what's going to happen to the girls? You're going on tour with The Who, and you're not going to be here for 2 months. And Chris said to Vicky, oh, Vicky, you manage them. And Vicky did a sensational job, and 3 weeks later, they had a mega hit. They were
wow.
Very successful. So that's the story of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells on track record, and everybody has stayed really good friends and connected ever since.
Wow, that's great.
The thing about Kit and Chris is they were real visionaries, and they were not clingy or hoarding groups or acts. They really wanted everyone to fly to the moon and back and have their wings. So they were great about, letting people go. The Rolling Stones had asked them to manage them, and they felt it was a conflict with The Who. So they just loved seeing people reach their optimum potential.
Oh yeah, well, and that's the mark of a great manager too.
Yes, and it was visionary at the time. Kit and Chris had the first independent record label, Track Record, and they actually, you see in the film Lambert and Stamp that there's a beautiful visual of Chris, Kit, and Jimi Hendrix meeting in a club, and they love him. They fell in love with his music, with the man, and they're trying to say, do you have a manager? Yes. Do you have a producer? Yes. Do you have, and they said, do you have a record deal? And he said, no. I said, would you like to be on our record deal? And he said, yes. And they didn't have a record deal, but the next day they found a Track Record to give Jimi Hendrix his first ever record deal.
Oh, yeah, hey.
So, it was very spontaneous in those days, right?
Well, and very, very entrepreneurial of them.
Yes, yes. You didn't have a team of lawyers and accountants weighing the pros and cons. You just did thing, and whether it was,
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
just a different time. But I just love the spirit of manifesting things to keep the creativity going.
Yeah, and it sounds like Calixte that Chris always wanted the bands to be as creative as possible, whether or not it happened to be successful or not. I mean,
yes.
It turned out that it was with something like Tommy and Quadrophenia, but it sounds like he really encouraged them to take chances.
Totally. They were not invested in the commercial rewards. Sure, they were happy when those came, but it was really about pure expression. Also, when this was working class, and in England, the class system was rigid. And him and his older brother, Terence, who's a movie actor and an author, broke the class system. They literally were part of the working class heroes. So they were, they loved being the cosmic revolutionaries who transcended all limitations, whether real or perceived, through art, creativity, film, vision. Yeah. So it was about that more than, how well is it going to do, and it was about spreading the message, really. Yeah. That's what Chris would say. He said it was about spreading the message.
Yeah, and to take those chances with, to do something like Tommy, back when they did, it's hard to imagine something that ambitious coming out today.
It was revolutionary, Tommy, and that also has a lot to do with Pete being an enlightened genius on some level, because Pete had the courage to expose some of his history of abuse, of bullying, of trauma.
Sure.
And in those days, today, I'm a trauma repair specialist as well as a healer and many other things, but in those days, we didn't really talk about trauma and trauma repair and neurobiology, It was still a very obscure topic. So Tommy really talks about the impact of trauma, of war, of what happens during a war. There's no right or wrong. People leave, people die, people get remarried, people get found out. It was a really enlightened piece. And that Kit and Chris supported it so much, and Kit brought so much of his own composer background to it. I think it was a crucible, Tommy, where the six of them really, co-created a masterpiece, the first rock opera.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he gave them the ability to, he said to them, like, it was okay to dive that deep into your emotions for your art.
Exactly. And actually, Chris continued to do that as a healer and as a phenomenal psychodramatist in his, the latter part of his life, to really help people connect with spontaneity in their emotions and not judge them and just own them.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so he did a lot of that in relation to helping people with substance abuse. Is that correct?
He did that. Chris got so clean and sober in 1987. We actually both did. So he left this world as a sober man, 25-year sober man. So he was very dedicated to helping others transform themselves and, moving beyond just recovery. It became a spiritual quest. It became the understanding that, we all are vehicles of love. And to help, and he did amazing things. He became a Reiki master. He went to college. He had never been to college in his life. He got degrees, and he just believed in helping people open their hearts.
Yeah, really a second life almost,
Totally, a rebirth. A rebirth.
Well, and the common thread to it all, it was helping people.
Yes, and helping manifest the essence of what is, and without wanting to sound too esoteric, if your essence is to scream, scream. If your essence is to, talk about abuse and trauma, do it, So it was about the authentic expression of things, yeah.
And you seem to be carrying this on through your current social media on Twitter and Instagram.
I try. I have to confess I was terrified of social media. I didn't understand it. I'm 58. I was like, oh, my God. And I'm a pretty daring person. And when the film came out, that is such a tribute and a legacy, Lambert and Stamp, and I was just so honored in the way it was done. It was financed through private equity, which meant they could retain the artistic integrity of the film. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get on Twitter for Lambert and Stamp. So that was my way in.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and then my granddaughters got me on Instagram. They said, you have to get on Instagram. And they said to me, my granddaughters, they said, what matters to you? And I said, soul, and what else? Love and spirit. So that became my Instagram name, Spirit, Soul, Love. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to use social media to be a vehicle of light and love and healing. I'm not going to do politics. I'm not going to do religion. I'm not going to do the grumpy stuff. That's fine. People want to do it. Fine. I'm just going to try to align that path for me. And, I found so much light and love and beauty on social media. And I found you guys. I found people who love vinyl. I love vinyl,
Yeah.
So we're talking because, we connected on Instagram. So I have to say, I really, and as a healer, it's such a great reminder that people say, oh, there's a lot of darkness in social media. Well, guess what? There's light and darkness in all things, and it's up to us to choose what we want to tap in.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the Lambert Stamp movie. What was it like to finally see something that had taken so long to get made? If I'm right, like 10 years.
10 years, absolutely.
Yeah. What was it like to see that come to fruition?
Well, it was very interesting because the movie came out after Chris died. So in a way, it was wonderful and difficult, but wonderful mostly, to have this extraordinary piece of work. It took 10 years, a lot to do with many things, but because of the private equity financing. And don't forget, it was made during 2008 when a lot of things crumbled financially.
Sure.
Also, because, Chris adored the director, James Cooper, and adored the producer, Loretta Harms, and trusted them. Chris had been asked to do things like that for years, but he trusted that they would hold the vision. And he said to them, put in everything that everybody says. Don't make it nicey nice. Just let's be real. Put all perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't micromanaging the film at all. But it also, because of his support and involvement, it opened doors with Roger and Pete, and they got material that had never been released or seen. It opened doors that may not have been opened otherwise. And it was held with a lot of sacredness. And also, we had the editor, Christopher Tellefson, who's a brilliant film editor who was nominated for an Oscar for Moneyball, who edited Capote.
Oh, wow.
He fell in love with the project, but he was very busy editing film, so he edited the film over a period like 4 years when he was free, So there was a lot of that going on. And so to answer your question, when I saw it for the first time at Sundance, at the Sundance Film Festival in 2014, I think, January 2014. It was spectacular, and the interesting thing is that it was an absolute critical acclaim across the board, America, Europe. There's been like 3 negative reviews on Twitter, but basically, if you look at The Voice, if you go to LambertStampMovie.com, you read all the reviews. It's phenomenal, and that's when I realized, because the film is really, in the end, about love. It touches people's hearts. It's not about who did what to whom. It's about love. That's how I see it. Passion for whatever, music, people, synergy. So it's been an amazing experience. And for me, on a personal level, it helped me move my grief from a personal level to a collective level. It's like Chris was suddenly sent out to the universe and was celebrated in a different dimension. And, the film was on airplanes. People would see it while flying, So it was really like a takeoff of him, and also helped me move my grief. So.
Well, yeah, I absolutely, if you're into The Who at all, you absolutely need to watch the movie. It's excellent to all the viewers out there.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for saying that. It is. And I think if you're into human transformation and expression and hope, it's a movie to watch.
Yeah.
And your son agrees.
Yeah, he does. He's raving about it right now. Thank you. Yeah, you've got a fan here that you've never met.
Fabulous. Bless him.
Calixte, if I could ask, I've been now. Levi introduced me to your accounts. I've been, following you on Twitter and Instagram.
What is your name?
My name is it's at ChooHostGabe. That's what I do.
Okay,
yeah.
So if I do that, I'll find you on
You'll find
Twitter.
Yeah,
okay.
It's connected to the podcast.
Okay.
But I want to say I think some of the garments that you wear are just really gorgeous. What are some of your inspirations for your fashion?
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't follow fashion.
Okay.
I've always liked glitter and sparkle. I dressed like Janis Joplin when I was in high school, which got me a ton of trouble, but my good grades got me out of trouble. The fashion, the clothes I wear mostly is by my dear, dear beloved friend Amy Zerner.
Okay.
F-A-B-R-N-E-R, who is based in East Hampton. Her and her husband, Monty Farber, are artists, and he's a psychic. They do tarot cards, but she's a fabric collage artist. She has a collection at Bergdorf. But basically, enough of the details like that. She does what's called goddess couture. So she does collages, fabric collages, and each piece is a unique item. So I fell in love with her work, and I'm not a fashionista. Instead of buying a Prada bag, I buy Christos. And in terms of wearing, I'd rather buy one thing that I totally love. So I live in her clothes, and she makes custom-made things for me. And otherwise it's leggings and a T-shirt and an Amy Zerner coat. It depends, but this is my home base is Amy Zerner, because she understands the individual goddess, shamanic, healer energy in us all, and how to create that. And basically, to tell the truth, I wear it because I love it, because it feels good, because So I'm so glad you noticed, because I really love what she does. And they just opened a little store in East Hampton. It's called the Enchanted World.
Okay.
Nice.
Amy Zerner.
There you go.
Yeah. A wonderful lady. And actually, Monty, who is a psychic, was a musician, has played in bands, a very interesting person, and he also...
I was going to say his name sounded really familiar when you said it.
Yeah. So he does radio shows. He's a wonderful guy, and really knows his music.
Excellent. Well, could you tell us a little bit about the music scene in New York when you got there? Like, what did you experience?
The music. I moved to New York from Europe in 1976.
Okay.
However, I was raised in Switzerland, born in Austria, but basically I was raised by a father who loved blues, jazz. He would play boogie-woogie in my room at 3 o'clock in the morning. Took me to see Ray Charles when I was 10. Took me to the Montreux Jazz Festival. So I had a really fabulous early life music exposure.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't eat at school, so I could buy a record, right? So we would buy the latest U.S. or British import, because French music let's not be critical, but, I didn't resonate to French music too much.
Yeah.
Now some, old ballady things, yeah. So, but, it was the U.S. and England that really rocked our boats. So I had a lot of blues, jazz, rock, experience, and my vinyls and love for this music. And then I came to New York, and I spent my life at the Blue Note and, all those, the Village Vanguard, all those things. I mean, it was just, you had so many amazing concerts. So, anybody from Lou Reed to... Also, when I was young, my boyfriend was friendly with Keith Richards, so I used to go see the Stones a lot. But when I came to New York, it was a very interesting scene, because there was the disco era, 1976, so Studio 54 and all that, and disco was, good dance music. To me, energetically, never had the heart and soul connection as strongly, but whatever, it had its purpose. And then there was CBGBs. Then there was the whole punk... So I used to go to CBGBs, and, you'd see all sorts of acts, known and unknown, who were to become known. And also don't forget that Chris's last production in music was Johnny Thunders. He did Chinese Rocks and Born to Lose. He produced those 2 tracks.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a mixed bag, and because my taste in music had always been very diversified, which is how I live and breathe and think. It's like I'm not married to any method or anything. I love exploring all things and see how they resonate. I basically did the same thing in New York that I'd done my whole life, which is explore all sorts of music, from punk to rock to country, I used to love Dolly Parton, so actually...
Oh, yeah.
On my Twitter account the other day, I was actually taking a track vinyl album out to photograph, now that I'm, doing all the social media, and a photograph of Dolly Parton and Angie Bowie came out, flying out of the sleeve. So I took a photo of it and posted it.
Yeah. That's
my
awesome.
Twitter. So anyway, so it was very eclectic, the music scene. So, I was in college. I went to the School of Mystical Sciences. I went to Studio 54. Went to CBGB. It was a real New York momentum. I mean, New York was just a dream of diversity and experiences, musical and otherwise. Oh, I used to go to the Cotton Club.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't
Just
really know what the scene was, but I can tell you I was hanging out in lots of different scenes.
Well, yeah, and that's it's such a great melting pot for music.
Yeah, it is. It is. So there you go. That's what I did.
And you've been able to take advantage of some of the great stuff that comes through town. I think I saw a photo of you going to that Pink Floyd premiere.
Oh yeah, Roger Waters' film, the Wall. Yes, yes, I love Roger Waters. I love the Pink Floyd. Yes, that was phenomenal, and yes, I've been very privileged to have access to some amazing shows in very nice, comfortable ways.
Well, yeah, but it's just great that it even comes. You're able to catch that in New York. We don't get quite as much of that here in Kansas City.
Well, you still have some great music that came from Kansas City.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely, yeah. I won't complain about that.
But you don't have as much shows, yeah.
Yeah. Even it looks like you caught Brian Wilson back in 03 or 04.
Yes, we went to see Brian Wilson with Roger, Heather, some of his kids, and Chris in London, and got to meet him, and was so honored. Just love Brian Wilson.
Oh yeah, the Beach Boys.
Yeah, the Beach Boys, right?
They were so great.
Yeah.
What was like Brian Wilson concert like? I've never seen Brian Wilson.
It was extraordinary.
Yeah.
It was musically phenomenal, and I see also as a healer, I see Brian Wilson. I see a lot of singers as they're very shamanic. They channel sounds and tones and it was a beautiful concert. I was very moved. So was Chris, and Chris was very moved to meet him again, and there was something very touching, because I think he was struggling with some medical issue or whatever. But it was just he was like the pure essence of a child in some ways, very sweet.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And actually, we're lucky. He is going to be coming through town on, I think it's his last tour of Pet Sounds is what it's billed as. So
great.
Yeah. And are you excited about the, I guess, the continuation of the Who's 50th anniversary?
I'm excited, and as someone who loves Roger very much, I hope that he doesn't push himself too much. I know I have a bit of a protective. Yes, of course I'm excited, and I my heart went out to him with the viral meningitis. That was a tough journey, and Roger being Roger, he's a transformer. He's an optimistic healer himself, and he healed it. So yes, of course I'm excited, and.
Yeah, they had to cancel their Kansas City date or delay it a couple times, and so my wife and I. My wife is a giant Who fan, and
is she?
And so we were disappointed, though we're patient, so we're excited for them to finally make it around in April, I think. So
great.
Yeah.
Great, that's right. I think they're in New York in March 3rd or something.
Oh, they are, yeah.
Yeah, no, of course I'm excited. They're an amazing band still, Pete and Roger, and the whole team, and the musical director is phenomenal, and they're an amazing band. What can I say?
Oh, absolutely, and hugely important for all of us.
Yeah, me too. I mean, my teenage years. I mean, Tommy saved my life. And and also helping teenagers negotiate rebellion and having a voice. It gave words to feelings that were, not so clear sometimes as a teenager.
Yeah,
exactly.
They were great at conveying that that teenage angst. They were one of the first bands that could put it into their art successfully.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
This is a little bit off music topic, but
Okay.
we know what was it like working with Christo?
Oh, working with Christo was phenomenal. Him and his wife Jean-Claude are an amazing team of really producing everything and anything. You know, the art, their projects, and each project was the same thing. It cost them everything they had and everything they could borrow. They never accepted sponsorships, so they would sell a lot of the original artwork. But they taught me an incredible amount. I mean, I always had a good producer side, but, you know, from shipping, creating, making catalogs, I mean, like Christo would do that, but proofreading every article around the world that was written and not checking the content, but checking the facts, and just the vision and the openness, and actually reminded me a lot of Chris, you know, that open-minded vision, you know, and Christo would always say, you know, people say, why do you spend 20 years doing a project and then it's only up for 2 weeks? He said, because it's like childhood. It's precious because it's short-lasting. If the project was there for a year, people would get used to it. They wouldn't even notice it. You know, there's something about the short-lived nature of things, the impermanence of things. And it was an extraordinary experience. That's why I posted that photo of me on top of the Reichstag, because I also worked on the Umbrellas project in California and Japan. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was spectacular. So, you know, I would work in that building in New York, and sometimes they'd leave and they'd travel to Japan, and they'd let me deal with this and that and the press and the photos and the calls and the shipping. You know, it was like it gave me huge responsibility.
Well, yeah, it's like a production boot camp.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing. You know, better than any PhDs in any university. It was amazing. So I'm always very grateful to them, and I love Christo, and he lost his soulmate too, and he continues.
Amazing stuff they were able to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did a project in Kansas City, actually, wrapped walkways.
They did, yeah, and it was at Luce Park in 1978, and it's where I go play catch in Luce Park. So yeah, it was cool.
There you go. Yeah, no, amazing people. Bless them often.
See, I knew we would work baseball into this conversation somehow. So.
That's right.
Have you ever been to a Yankees or a Mets game up there in New York?
No, never. But Chris used to love baseball, and
Did he
taught me how to understand baseball. So, and he always rooted for the underdog. You know.
Right on.
That was Chris, and so I have fondness for baseball.
Well, I just wanted to share with everybody all of Calixte's social media information, as well as how they can find out about the documentary, too. You can follow Calixte on Twitter at Calixte, that's Calixte Stamp, at Calixte Stamp on Twitter. And then on Instagram, she is at Spirit Soul Love. That's a nice, easy one to remember. So you can follow her on Instagram, always posting beautiful images. So thank her for that. And then also you can find out about the Lambert and Stamp documentary at lambertstampmovie.com. You can order it there and tell all your friends about it. Definitely. And Calixte, I don't know if you know him, and maybe this reference falls flat. I'm not sure. Before I knew much about him, I was looking at these old pictures of Chris. And do you know who Paul Weller is?
It rings a bell.
He was a British musician from the Jam. I thought it was Paul Weller. Listen, Chris is a very good-looking guy, and so was Paul Weller. So I mistook it for a second. I was.
Well, maybe it's a shape-shifting moment.
Yeah. So anyway, if that reference falls flat on anybody, I apologize. I saw the photos, and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like Paul Weller. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I also want to add that the Lambert and Stamp film has an Instagram account called Lambert Stamp Movie.
Okay, so at Lambert Stamp Movie. Okay.
Yeah, and it also has a Twitter account. And you can, hold on, of course, my memory's fading. Okay, the Twitter is Lambert Stamp Mov, M-O-V.
Okay.
Great.
Right,
Excellent.
so, and it's on Amazon, iTunes, Netflix is showing it. It's 2 hours, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's a lot
like
of
I
fun.
said, even if you like The Who just a little bit, I think there's something that you will enjoy the movie immensely.
Yeah, and I would love to have all of your Instagram, Twitter accounts so I can follow you. If you can email that to me, or
Yeah,
Definitely.
we can do that. Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and we will share yours with our listeners too on
Sure.
our website. So yeah, we'll spread the word about Calixte as well as this wonderful documentary and the work of her talented husband. So Calixte, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was really fun and lovely to be with fellow music lovers. And also, can you send me the link for your show website so I can post it?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely will do that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody.
Have a
Thanks.
beautiful Sunday. Bye-bye.
Okay, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And we also want to thank our lovely guests, Calixte Stamp. Check out the documentary Lambert Stamp Movie. Also, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RockInChew. That's rock as in come on, feel the noise in. So you can check us out at RockInChew, as well as you can find out everything you need to know about Rock and Chew, as well as previous episodes, cool links, things we've discussed on the podcast. All comprehensively, you can find those on rockchew.com. So until next time, I will see you guys later. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.